What is going on, y'all? Welcome to Sideline Sports, the flagship show of the network. Filling in for Jon Shearer, your man Eric Wilson, alongside my two brothers, Jake Malik, and of course, the man, the myth, the legend, JB Ellis is joining us. Gentlemen, good evening. We got a special guest. This is the author of Fourth Down and Damn, the autobiography of Leon Searcy. Our man Mike Brodsky is in the building. What's going on, everybody? How's everybody feeling?
Doing well. Things are good.
Awesome.
How you doing? How are you, Eric? I mean, someone's got to ask you.
I'm doing well. You know what? It's been a minute between Vegas and Chicago and just everything that we have going on here at Sideline Sports Network. It's been just a I will say nothing has been boring the last 2 weeks. It has been continually go. But
That's an understatement.
Listen, 2 nights without John, I'm actually, I'm feeling some kind of way. I'm like,
Are you missing him, or you feel kind of sad?
I was gonna say, is it sad? Is it a little bit of relief? What is it?
I don't know. We can talk about that later. I mean, we got Mike. We got Mike here. So Mike, man, let our audience know, who you are and basically what you got going on, brother.
Sure, absolutely. I'm Mike Brodsky. I'm a financial advisor, author, speaker. Tonight, I'm here to talk a little bit about the book Fourth Down and Damn, a lineman story, the autobiography of Leon Searcy, as told by Mike Brodsky. Leon was hoping to be able to join us, and he had sort of a last-minute family emergency. He had to travel out of town for that, so unfortunately, he won't be able to join us this evening. But Leon and I have a book signing coming up on Saturday, May 14th, at the Walmart in St. John's, Florida. For anybody that's anywhere near the Jacksonville, St. John's area, it's going to be at the Walmart at 845 Durbin Pavilion Drive. It's taking place Saturday, May 14th at 1 o'clock p.m. So if anybody would like to come and join us, you'll get a chance to meet Leon. Leon will be signing copies of the book and telling a bunch of stories. He'll be doing his podcast also from that book signing setup. So I don't know if you want to jump into the book. I could sort of give you a little bit of an overview of what it's all about.
That would be sure. Love that.
Sure. So basically, Fourth Down and Damn. And by the way, I should point out it's actually an acronym: Diary of an Athlete's Memoirs and Notes. But the book is really Leon's life story. Leon. For those who aren't familiar with Leon Searcy, played with the Miami Hurricanes, 3-time national champion with the Hurricanes. Was also a first-round draft pick of the Pittsburgh Steelers in 1992. As a matter of fact, for any Steelers fans, Bill Cowher, Hall of Fame coach, obviously, and Bill Cowher's first-round draft pick was Leon Searcy, the offensive lineman. So Leon also went on to play with the Jaguars, was a free agent, and basically the highest-paid offensive lineman in the 90s. And the book kind of tells his story about his life, his career, how he got into football, and some pretty wild stories along the way. And basically kind of at the top of his game in the NFL, and still somehow managed to retire. Broke and twice divorced, basically, and then sort of hitting bottom and sort of telling his story, and then sort of making a bit of a comeback in recent years. And now he's on Jacksonville radio, doing the Lunch with Leon broadcast on radio every day on 1010 XL, Jacksonville Sports Radio up there. But it's a pretty wild story for anybody that's a football fan. You'll see a lot of great stories, great memories, kind of told by Leon. So sort of an insider's look at what goes on behind the scenes. Whether you're a fan of the Hurricanes or the Steelers or the Jaguars or just football in general, it's pretty wild. And even for anybody in the game or who's thought about getting into the game, also a lot of cautionary tales. You hear a lot of stories about how when it comes to football, I think the statistic is 76% of these guys within about 2 years after retiring from football, 76% of them will end up filing for bankruptcy or having some pretty severe financial problems. And, it's kind of unfortunate, but I think there's some pretty good cautionary tales about things to watch out for when it comes to the game and what to do or what not to do when it comes to money and, financial planning and that sort of thing. But certainly a great story, and the book is available at Amazon. It's available on Kindle, and even if you prefer audiobooks, the Audible version is now out there. And what we did with the audiobook is it's actually my voice doing the audiobook, but Leon tells about an hour's worth of stories, material that didn't hit the book, that didn't make the book, that he just kind of tells some additional stories. We've got some bonus content, bonus material in the audiobook that you can enjoy and listen to those stories for anybody that wants to check it out. That's on audible.com.
So how did you end up hooking up with Leon to write this book?
You stole my question, JB. I was going to ask that. You jerk.
I'll answer it for both of you anyway, but it was sort of an interesting story because I actually was not the first choice to write the book necessarily. And this is a book Leon had been working on for a number of years, and he was trying to get the story out there. And he eventually came to a group called World Sports Alumni. You can see there it is, the World Sports Alumni logo, WSA. For anybody who's not familiar with World Sports Alumni, it's an association of former professional athletes. If you go to worldsportsalumni.com, you can actually see more about the organization, who's involved in that sort of thing. But Leon had approached WSA, and WSA had sort of hooked him up with, I think, a couple of authors at different times. And somewhere along the way, the ball dropped. The author kind of fell through, and in a panic, the CEO of Sports Alumni, who I've known through my involvement with the organization for a while, came to me in a panic and said, "Mike, you've written a book." I had written another book back in 2014. It was a self-help, self-improvement book called Incremental Improvements, Change Your Life One Small Step at a Time, which was #1 on Amazon's personal transformation list. And Charlie Williams, the CEO of World Sports Alumni, a former professional billiards player known as the Korean Dragon, actually just approached me and asked me if I wanted to work with Leon on the book. And this was in July of 2020. And for those who remember what was going on with COVID, there was not a lot going on. Everyone was kind of locked indoors pretty much for the most part, socially distancing and that kind of thing. And I think I had a little bit of extra free time to kind of do some other things, so I wasn't really getting out and networking and doing much with other people. So it seemed like an interesting opportunity to work on a great project like this. I mean, Leon basically turned over his diaries. He turned over a bunch of audio recordings that he had been making because he had been working on this project for a while. And so he had really told a very honest telling of his story. And a lot of times when you read football autobiographies, a lot of times they hold back a little bit, right? They're not honest. They don't reveal everything. But Leon really laid it all out there. And so I thought it would be a really fun project to work on. So decided to put it together. And within about 11 days, I kind of had the rough draft. And then as I was showing it to my wife and kind of getting her input, and she loves the book, which I thought was interesting because she's not necessarily a sports fan. But she said, you're missing a lot of pieces here. So, I was able to go back to Leon. We spent another week getting some more stories, filling in some of the blanks. And within about 3 weeks, the book was kind of ready to go. So it was kind of just a great project and a fun thing to work on.
Wow. So, yeah, I mean, you got that done in a very short amount of time. But I want to talk about the book for a minute itself, Fourth Down and Damn. You said there are some spicy stories in there, some things that people, definitely are going to be intrigued by. Do you mind sharing one of those? Or even if we can get maybe for those who only pick up the book and don't get the Audible, some of those bonus contents?
Yeah. I mean, certainly and by the way, if you go to the Audible site, you can actually hear little clips and things like that. And, I think there may be some excerpts also floating around online, but, Leon tells the story about, the book really starts with his telling of the story of draft day in 1992, in April of 92. He actually really thought he was going to be drafted by the Cowboys. I mean, there was a Cowboys representative in his house ready to sign the contracts, because Jimmy Johnson was coach of the Cowboys at the time. Jimmy Johnson had coached Leon as a freshman at Miami. And so Leon just kind of assumed it was going to be the Cowboys that he would be signing with. And then he got a call out of the blue from the Steelers, with Bill Cowher on the line, kind of letting him know that they were going to be taking him about 3 spots ahead of the Cowboys. And sure enough, he joined the Steelers. And so that was a bit of a surprise. But there are also some stories for anybody who might be familiar with, there was a 30 for 30 where Leon was featured telling a story about one of his ex-wives moving some money out of a joint account into an game, and we told it very, very carefully this time around. On TV, it got a little bit got him into some legal trouble, but we told it more carefully this time, I think you could say. And but it's still an interesting story. Because certainly to have about $500,000 move out of your account can be a little bit disconcerting for anybody that experiences that. But there's a lot of very raw, honest stories in there. There's a couple of great stories for people who want to read about Warren Sapp, who also played with the Hurricanes, and even Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. There's some interesting stories about his time with the Hurricanes as well. So lots of great stories in there. And one thing I'll mention is that, the great thing about the book is that the chapters are really short. We try to make it so that it's really easy to read. I mean, you can just kind of, sit down, whatever else you might be doing. You can just spend a couple of minutes, pick up the book, read a couple of short chapters that are just a few pages each. So it's a very easy read. And even the Audible version, a very easy listen for anybody that wants to check it out.
So, I mean, along those lines, you said that there was a Cowboy representative in his home.
Yeah.
Now was he in there on draft day? Like, was the Cowboy representative in there, and then the Steelers called and he had to kick the Cowboy guy out? Because that, to me, as an Eagles fan, is a huge thing. I'm like, that's pimp status right there. Let me just say that. So
yeah, it was crazy. Like, Leon had gotten the call that morning that the Cowboys were planning to take him, and they'd sent over a representative that was literally doing the negotiations with his agent in their house. And that's when they got the call from the Steelers that the Steelers were taking him. So the Cowboys representative, of course, got wind of it, and was obviously not happy about what was happening. And the Cowboys representative even had like a jersey that had Leon's name and number on it. And Leon said, "Hey, is it right if I keep that Cowboys jersey over there, just as a piece of memorabilia for the day?" And the Cowboys representative said something like, "There's no way the Cowboys will ever give any Steeler anything," So they
wow. I love it.
Took the jersey with them.
The
So
hatred runs
Eagles
deep.
fan, maybe that'll make you happy to know that they kind of stuck it to the Cowboys. But and that was on draft day, and that was back when the draft was not prime time. I mean, I think it was like a noon start time back then. So it was much earlier in the day, and Leon kind of talks about sort of the lead up to the draft, and even like the reporter that was outside of his house covering the story and wanted to get the first interview with Leon was actually Stuart Scott, who at the time was not yet with ESPN. He was just a local reporter with the local NBC affiliate in Orlando at the time, and got the interview with Leon. But it's lots of interesting stories, kind of a great look back at history when it comes to football, going back to the 90s, I guess. He started with the Hurricanes in '87 and graduated in '91. But certainly a great read for any sports fan.
Yeah, it sounds very interesting. That's for sure. I mean, I think I'm gonna have to read it now. I mean, you tell the story about the Steelers or the Cowboys representative, and then the Steelers take them. I'm like, all right, well, if that's any indication, I have to start reading this tomorrow because it sounds very interesting.
Absolutely, and certainly, again, if you check out the Audible sample, for anybody who wants to check out the Audible version, the audiobook version, if you go to tinyurl.com/damn audio or Lineman's Story. So tinyurl.com/Lineman's Story or tinyurl.com/damn audio will take you to the audiobook version. And certainly if you check that out, I know there's a sample of that draft day story on there. So when you click on it, you can kind of hear the draft day story, I think, comes right up.
Now, where can people get the book?
It's available at Amazon, and in terms of finding the book, I'll mention a couple of different possible ways that you can get it. If you're looking for the book specifically, either the paperback or the Kindle version, you can go to, again, tinyurl.com/fourth down and damn, and that's the number 4 th down and damn. Oh, look at that. Okay, we've got the book right there. And or the other option is if you go to tinyurl.com/Leon Searcy book, that will also take you there as well. And or if anybody just wants to sort of find all of the links together, including maybe some other links, even to a link to the book, the first book that I wrote. If you go to my own personal link tree, which is linktr.ee/Mike Brodsky, MikeBrodsky, as you can see in my name right there. My link tree /Mike Brodsky will give you all of the links for the book, the paperback, the Kindle, the Audible, my Incremental Improvements book, which, by the way, incrementalimprovements.com is the other site you can go to. If anybody wants to read the PDF version, you can actually download the PDF version for free. But my book is also, the other book is also available through Amazon or Kindle as well.
Very cool. So now, before we got on the air, we're talking a little golf. So what's your thoughts coming up next week in the major, the Players Championship?
Gosh, I mean, I guess it'll be interesting to see how all this kind of plays out. You know, we've had certainly I was covering, as I mentioned to you earlier, Arnold Palmer Invitational, Bay Hill. You know, we had, Scotty Strickland walking away with the red cardigan. And he's had some pretty good success. John Rahm is certainly making a strong comeback. So it'll be kind of interesting to see, who wins it. What do you guys think? I mean, what's your take? Who do you think's going to, in any of these tournaments, you never really know. I mean, it's always interesting just to kind of see, who kind of steps forward and wins these things. But what's your take? What are you looking for coming up?
I want to see if Jordan Spieth comes back and does well. I think he's got a good game, but I'd like to see him do well. I don't know really too much who's gonna be competitive. Golf is so weird because every course favors different guys.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't sort of looking into it yet, but I figured you know a lot about golf. Let me ask you because that's coming up very shortly.
Yeah,
it's like in football. Any given Sunday in golf, any given weekend, really, right?
Right.
All it takes is one guy gets hot. They win the championship. They win a major. They win an invitation or whatever event that they're at. That's all it takes. You just gotta have one good weekend. That's it. I mean, that's how a guy like Jordan Spieth makes his name, right? He has, he's a great player. Don't get me wrong, but one big weekend and bam, he's on the map. Everybody knows him now. Yeah. That's all it is. So I'm with JB. I mean, it could be. I mean, I hate to say it, but it could be anybody because
of course
one person gets hot. I mean, it's a random person that was. The last person to make the qualifiers, they just get in, right? They're the last one on the list. They have a great weekend, and all of a sudden they've won. And sure. Everybody's talking about them.
Well, yeah, I mean, look, that's what's great about sports, isn't it? I mean, you look at even the Kentucky Derby. I mean, to have an 80-1 long shot winning the thing. I mean, it's like who would have thought?
Again, probably the last horse to make it on the list, and there you go.
Yeah. Exactly.
I'd like to see Brooks. Koepka. I'd like to see what he does at the PGA Championship. Now I know the AT&T Byron Nelson tournament is coming up this weekend.
Yes,
and I think that's going to be a great, for me at least, a starting point to look at some of these golfers and say, okay, who is going to take their game from that to the championship, which is one of the 4 Grand Slams, and let's see one of the 4 in the Grand Slam. Excuse me. And let's see what they're going to do. But, I always like Brooks Koepka. I mean, Dustin Johnson's another one. Mm-hmm. But listen, as you can see by the hat and the logo, before he got his own, if my man is playing, I'm Tiger Woods all day. Let me just call it what it is. So,
yeah. I mean, it's so exciting to see that just the fact that Tiger is back. I mean, after honestly almost dying in that
dying.
Yeah. It's a miracle. I mean, he's been able to come back. I mean, I know he kind of got off to a great start and then kind of hit the skids in his first outing back. But, again, Tiger Woods is the sort of player where you never know what to expect, and he could surprise some people. But just the fact that he will probably be playing is pretty exciting. I think, certainly brings the fans, gets them excited, gets them to want to follow the whole thing, whether he wins or not. Whether he's at the front of the pack or at the back of the pack doesn't even matter. He's still going to have the biggest following probably on the course. So it'll be interesting to see what Tiger is able to do this time.
Absolutely. He's one of those guys that'll pull anybody in. Yeah. Anybody that's a casual watcher, all of a sudden, Tiger Woods is playing. I got to watch.
Exactly.
He's one of those guys.
Right.
And trust me, viewership definitely goes up if he makes between Saturday and Sunday. He makes that turn and goes from like 9th up to 2nd. Oh, viewership is just like, Sunday, all plans are canceled. We're watching Tiger. That's what happens.
Absolutely.
Of course, yeah. He's got that effect.
Yeah, definitely.
What were we going to say
Mike,
before,
man,
JB?
Go ahead, JB.
No, I was saying, no, Tiger definitely moves the needle. People just want to watch when he's there, you know?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Right.
Mike, man, appreciate your time, brother. Thank you so
Yeah.
much. Ladies and gentlemen, this again is Mike Brodsky. He is the author of the Fourth Down and Damn, the autobiography of Leon Searcy. Make sure you check him out again this Saturday. Mike, if you're in the Jacksonville area, make sure you go check him out. Remind the people where that's going to be at again.
Yeah, absolutely. It's at the Walmart in St. John's, Florida. It's at 845 Durbin Pavilion Drive, St. John's, Florida, 1:00 p.m., Saturday the 14th. Leon will be there signing books, and there will be maybe some possible celebrity surprise guests, friends of Leon's that may be showing up, and we may have some other giveaways. I think there'll be a couple of signed jerseys or helmet or something like that. I think that'll also be kind of given away there. But for any sports fans, come on out, get a chance to meet Leon. Leon will be telling some stories because he's doing his podcast from there as well. And great opportunity to meet Leon Searcy, one of the top 25 all-time Jaguars. They had sort of named the top 25 when they had the 25th anniversary season not too long ago. And Leon was number 17 on that list. So you get a chance to meet
It's a pretty big honor.
Well-known Jaguar, Jacksonville celebrity on Jacksonville radio. So come and check it out. We'd love to see you there.
Very cool, Mike. We appreciate you taking the time coming out tonight, and we look forward to speaking to you again in the future.
Absolutely. And again, Leon apologizes, but I know JB will coordinate getting Leon back on the show with you guys very soon.
Absolutely, no worries.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Looking forward to it.
Awesome.
Thanks, Mike.
We appreciate
Thanks,
it.
guys. Appreciate it.
All right, gentlemen. Where would you like to go? Because I got something we got to talk about, but there might be more pressing matters. So
before you do that, let's pay some bills and show some love to DB&A. So we'll be
Absolutely.
back with
Go for
Sideline Sports in just a moment.
If you have a business, company, or product, and you want to reach the right audience, contact DB&A Television. DB&A TV reaches over 100,000 viewers a month and has advertising plans for all budgets. You can see your ads running on Roku TV, Amazon Fire, On Demand, and dozens of other top platforms for only $1 a day. Call our advertising sales department between 10 a.m. and 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Monday through Friday, at 484-695-5187. That's 484-695-5187. Make the call and then watch the results. It pays to advertise on the DB&A Television Network.
Welcome back to Sideline Sports, the flagship show of the network. Your man, Eric Wilson, filling in for Jon Shearer, alongside my two guys, JB Ellis. Check him out at JB_ the program, and my man, Jake _ Jake Malik. Congrats on that new car, by the way, Jake.
Thank you, sir. Very excited about it.
So before we start, I got to ask, is John really sick, or are the Panthers and Heat both on during the show?
Hold on. Panthers? You mean the Canes?
The Canes. Well, who cares? It's the Canes. They're going to lose eventually anyway.
Oh.
The Heat maybe have a shot to come out of the East, but the Canes,
they do.
They're not going to. But they have a
America's
better
anything to
shot
say
than
about
the
it. They don't.
Thank you, Jake. Thank you very much. No. No, man. Listen, I'm gonna take John at his word that he is under the weather. But it would not surprise me, JB, if he tried some slickness like that to say, "Oh, I'm gonna get out of the show tonight."
I'm with you on that. I mean, you know how he is. He loves his teams. He can't. I mean, we all love our teams, but no.
Listen, I'm going to say he's sick because we spoke to him last night. But
exactly.
Just a weird coincidence going on.
Just a wild coincidence that both teams are playing tonight and John's not on the show. Just saying.
Listen, if he was on the Sports Arena last night and then not on Sideline Sports tonight,
that's fair.
I would be like, okay, John, that's a little fishy, bro. But
John, you got something to tell us?
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Oh, goodness.
All right.
What are we getting into?
So it's up to you two. I got a personal topic we got to talk about at some point tonight. But if you guys want to start with NBA playoffs, I will concede to that because that's a more relevant topic, probably. Up to you two.
I think the most relevant topic is, I believe, what you want to talk about but want to save for later. So I am going to go in the different direction. But since I'm just filling in tonight, I'm gonna go to the program and say, JB, what's on your mind, brother?
So let's start with the NBA playoffs. Let's start there.
I feel like that's a more pertinent topic at the moment, probably. But Eric, I think you know exactly what I'm going to talk about. So we will get to that shortly. I promise.
All right, fair enough.
We're not missing that. It's important.
I mean, here's what I'll say about the NBA playoffs. The first round matchups, I expect it to be a lot better than what they were. You know what I mean? But I mean, where we're at right now, and I mean, I'm just pulling up scores. And right now, Philly is down by 17, 9 minutes in the third quarter. It's a pivotal game 5. You know what I'm saying? And so it's going to depend on what Philly pulls out over the next 20 minutes to determine whether there will be a game 7 or not. Right. You know, everybody's talking about the Golden State Memphis game, and did the young man, did he grab John Morant's knee, which is the reason why he was out for game 4? And we've looked at it in so many different angles and so many different directions. I'm like, look, that's not the case. Let's cut that narrative out. Let's move on past it. This is going to be a series, but I think that series is technically over. I really feel like, Golden State's going to be Golden State. Steph, Clay, Draymond, the emergence of Jordan Poole and that whole entire squad are going. Memphis, listen, you're a young team. You have greatness in your trajectory, but right now you're just going up against a team that from any given point in time can drop 80 on you in a half. So,
I mean, with Memphis, it's like any trajectory when you become good in the NBA. If you see no team goes from nowhere to the championship, it doesn't happen.
Right.
You have a year where you make the playoffs, you get to that second round, you get better.
Become better.
You learn how to play playoff basketball. I mean, the play with Ja where his knee got grabbed, I don't think that's what caused him to be out. I mean, if it is, I don't think it was intentional to hurt him. I don't think Golden State or Poole is a dirty player. I don't see that. But Golden State's biggest flaw is they play down to their competition. They have a great team. They play to they're like the Giants. When the Giants were good, they would play to their competition. Eli Manning, whoever he was going against, if it was a great team, you got great Eli. If it was a basement team, you sat there with your hands in your pocket saying, oh, God, what is he doing? That's the way it is with Golden State.
That's a very good point. I mean, if you look at Golden State's, history on their games, I mean, it's pretty obvious that the way they, the scores indicate exactly that Golden State's not blowing anybody out for the most part. I mean, they'll have a game here and there where they really crush you, but you're right. I mean, you look at their scores; they're not winning by on average, more than a couple points. They have a handful of games that's maybe 10, 15 points if they're really showing out. But you're right. I mean, that's just how they play. But I told you guys these series were not that exciting. I told you that in the first round, and the second round has a little more excitement. But I said this, and you know who's good, you know who's not. It's still shaping up to be exactly that. I mean, Memphis is the perfect example, right? They're good, but we know they're not caliber of a championship caliber yet. Why? JB, you said it, right? They're just they got to get to that point. They got to get the experience first. That's exactly what we're seeing. It's a good team, but they're getting beat by a better team that has experience. Celtics and Bucks it's a good series like I expected. Phoenix playing down to competition as well, I think, at least to some extent. I think they should be, the Mavs are good, don't get me wrong, but I think they should be just whooping their butts.
Now, when you say whooping their butts, are you referring to Phoenix or are you referring to Dallas?
I think Phoenix should be whooping Mavs' butt, but that's just
all right.
And that's no disrespect to the Mavs, of course. Suns have more talent. They're just strictly, I believe, a better team. And then Heat Sixers is exactly what I expected. A battle of the East heavyweights. I mean, I don't think anybody expected anything less. So, these series are. I don't want to say predictable, but nothing is coming as a surprise. I'm not like, oh man, this is happening. I'm so shocked. I'm like, no, this is exactly what I told you would happen in the first round. We saw almost exactly what we kind of all agreed. Like, this is what's going to happen in the first round. And second round, we're seeing more or less what we expect, which, that's fine. But, it's I don't want to say it takes the excitement away, but it's just like, yeah, I know what's going to happen. I have a general feel for what games and series are going to be good and what series are not.
I'll say this, that Boston-Milwaukee series, I am very impressed by Boston holding their own against Giannis, even though they are without Chris Middleton.
Right.
Giannis and, Lopez and that whole entire crew.
Absolutely.
What I saw, though, from Boston and what we saw towards the end of the regular season and now in this entire postseason, let's be clear. First off, you swept Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, and the Brooklyn Nets. For those who are living under a rock and don't know that's what happened because you only started watching basketball now, let that marinate for a minute. Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, Brooklyn Nets got swept in the first round by Tatum, Brown, Al Horford, and the Boston Celtics. Boston has always been a good team. They have a historic franchise. But it's KD and Kyrie. So now you swept them. Now you're playing Giannis and the Milwaukee Bucks, the reigning champs. And it just seems like the level of intensity, especially after last night's game, has risen. So these next 3 games, I think, are going to be very telling with regard to who is going to be moving on to the Eastern Conference Finals. When it comes to Phoenix and Dallas, Jake, I completely agree with you. Phoenix should have blew the lights out of this team because Luka can only do so much.
Exactly.
And until he has more of a supporting cast that, he can definitely rely on, we're only going to go so far as Lucas.
It's a big problem. Big problem.
Right. That's what happens when you have the one superstar. Like, that's what Milwaukee has with Chris Middleton is they have that other guy, that guy that can help Giannis. Even if he's not on the level of Giannis, at least it's somebody else there that you can kind of rely on. You can say, hey, this guy can help us.
I have 2 questions. One, first of all, Eric, you're out of order because we don't refer to them as the Bucks. They're the Yucks on the show. We don't like the Bucks.
Listen, I have to eat a lot of crow, JB, and I have to call them the Bucks because I was the guy last season who said that they wouldn't even make the playoffs.
Wow.
Yeah, I figured they make the playoffs, but
no,
they're still the Yucks. Just because they won a championship doesn't make them the Bucks. They haven't earned that. Now, is Chris Middleton?
He's not playing.
I get that, but what's your thoughts on him? But he's not a superstar. He's a role player.
Yeah, he's a Robin
strong,
to Giannis's Batman.
Yes,
right.
He's
a strong number 2.
Yes,
and specifically with Giannis,
they play
off each other.
He disappears way too much in games for me to consider him anything more than a Robin to Batman.
Yeah, but that's what he is. That's
yes.
The thing is, I don't think anybody's going to argue that he's not. I think he's a strong number 2 with Giannis. If you put him with a guy like Steph, I don't think it works the same. Why? It's clear that Middleton and Giannis have a relationship. They found a way to make it work. That Batman Robin kind of thing. That would be like saying, if you put Robin with Superman, it's not going to work. Superman's a whole different dynamic. He's got his own thing, right? Yeah. Giannis and Middleton can make that. They make it work. There's something that I think it's something off court that they just there's a friendship, there's a camaraderie, there's that on top of the way they play that kind of helps them work so well together because it's pretty clear they work well together. But it's clear who's one, who's A, who's B.
There's no question
on that.
No, I just think that when it comes down to key moments, unfortunately, Middleton just he just disappears way too much for me to like.
That's why he's Robin, not Batman. That's why he's not the superstar, but Giannis is.
Oh, I get that. I don't never thought he was a superstar, but I think. That's why you need a guy like Holiday to come in as a number 3 to make them viable. They wouldn't be as viable without that, because they had Middleton for years and Giannis, and they didn't get any work,
Yeah, but I think ultimately the point is why the Mavs shouldn't be playing as well as they are is because it's a one-man show.
Of course,
it's a one-man show. And almost any other team, you pick a team. Except for, what we want to say Memphis is really mostly just Ja, but even that might be a little bit unfair.
So no, I don't think Memphis is just Ja.
And that's
I
what
don't think
mean.
they have any of the
That's
superstars, but they have
right.
they have
That's
a
what I
lot
mean.
of
I think
great
it's a
role
little unfair
players.
to say still
Yeah.
because Ja's the superstar, but there's a strong supporting cast with him still. So
Right.
that's why I say even that's a little unfair. But ultimately, the point is, look at every other team except for the Mavs. There's another superstar, another strong role player with the star for the most part. The Mavs are the only team that really feel like a one-man show. It's Luka. That's it.
Yeah.
That's the only team to me that feels that way, at least.
No, yeah, I completely agree.
Now, question for you.
Sure.
Playoffs in Dallas. You're Chris Paul. You see what happened. We all saw his outburst. No problem with anything he did or said. But you tell me somebody hit my mom, my wife in the stands. Anyone have any problem with what he did?
I ranted about this last night, and I was very clear in what I said. I said it was Mother's Day. This happened. The individual was escorted out of the building immediately. I have absolutely zero problem with what he did.
Okay, I agree.
Yeah.
I mean, if he would have went into the stands and beat the guy down, I wouldn't have had a problem with it.
Exactly.
Honestly, neither would I. I was like, yeah, you had it coming. I mean, when you do something stupid like that, what do you think is going to happen? Nothing.
I mean,
and it doesn't matter that it's Chris Paul. It could be me, you, Eric. It could be a random person on the street. You do something that's stupid, you cannot expect nothing to happen. You can't just sit there and be like, oh yeah, nothing's going to happen now. I mean, if you think that, I think you're clinically insane. If you think just nothing's going to happen when you do something so stupid, and I'm going to call it stupid for, I'm trying to be polite how I describe it.
Yes, I think you're being very nice calling it stupid.
But I don't want to say what I really think because that's not appropriate. Just say.
Oh, I get it.
Listen, I just and again, this is something that, especially, and I won't speak for you, gentlemen. I'll speak for myself. This is something that speaks very close to me, and as I'm sure it does to the two of you. But you know how we always say there's an exception to the rule. There's always, we will do this and we will tolerate this and we will do this to a professional level, to the utmost of respect. But there's an exception to that rule, and that exception to me is my mother. Now, granted, it's also my wife, but I'm just saying, in that type of situation, oh no, I will be, I black out. I see red. I will deal with the consequences after the fact. My mind does not stop me immediately to say, hey, go this direction as opposed to going this direction. Because you know what's going to happen if you go down this direction. That's not even a thought.
Agreed.
When it comes to that. So
absolutely.
I said it last night. I'll say it again. I hope he gave his soul to the Lord, because if Chris Paul gets a hold of him, his ass belongs to him.
Listen, I agree. I had no problem with what he said. I honestly would have no problem if he went into the stands and beat the guy down.
Right.
I agree.
Listen, you don't touch somebody's
warranted.
family. Yeah, you don't touch somebody's family. Fans in general have to be smarter. I don't get why you would.
Yeah.
First of all, as a man, you should never hit a woman. Let's start with that. Basic rules, but whatever. And then I don't know. I don't get people at games when they get into these whole, getting after people because they're with the other team and, family. You can't do that. Grow up. It's a game. Root for your team.
But again, it's that sense of, I paid my hard-earned money to sit courtside. I should be able to say and do and act however I want to because of the position that I'm in. Forgetting that there are consequences. Forgetting that there will be repercussions for the actions that you choose to make. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You are looking at three very sensible gentlemen here on Sideline Sports tonight. We all know better. It doesn't matter whether we're in the cheap seats, we're in the luxury suite, or we're sitting courtside next to a family member or a potential celebrity. We are there to basically enjoy the game. So it's not one of those things where, but you have these fans who, whether alcohol is a factor or not a factor, I'm taking that out of the equation as well.
Agreed.
But a lot of times you have these belligerent fans who sometimes feel that they can do and say and act however they want to. And they need to be reminded you were given an opportunity. Granted, yes, you probably paid your money or you got, network to get these seats or whatever, but just because someone is in the stands, I don't care if they're a personal, a complete stranger, or they're a celebrity, or they are the family member of one of the players on the court. Yo, don't put your hands on somebody.
Agreed.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
it's uncalled for.
Right.
You know what? I hope he had fun, because he's never going back to a game, so it doesn't matter. They won't let him. He's been banned, and rightfully so. So you know what? To him, I say, I hope it was worth it, because honestly, I don't see how it is. It doesn't make sense to me. You know what? Not my problem. I mean, that's why I agree with Chris Paul. I'm like, yeah. You didn't do anything wrong, man, because any sensible person would have done the exact same thing.
Right.
And no one would judge you for it, I don't think. So
completely agreed.
All right. Any other NBA stuff we want to talk about? If not, there's one more thing we have to talk about, and it's important.
Go ahead.
All right. Eric, you knew this is where I was going. JB, you probably figured it out as well. How do I put this nicely? Why do people assume that because you're a great quarterback or a great football player that all of a sudden you're going to be this great commentator? Can somebody explain that to me, please? Because Tom Brady, who's still playing football, but he hasn't even retired yet, signed a 10-year, almost $400 million contract.
$375.
Exactly. So he's making per year almost as much as he would make probably, or if not more than he currently makes as a football player, to go call games and do less work overall, because he will have to only worry about his season, if you will, during the actual season, as opposed to when he's a quarterback, he's got to play the season, but he's got to also train in the offseason and worry about offseason workouts and be with the team and all that. Why?
Because it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if he's good or not. He's Tom Brady. People are going to watch because it's Tom Brady.
I hate that mindset.
And I agree with you, because I could care less. But it's Tom. So if I'm Fox, I got there first. I got Tom Brady. It was worth $37.5 million because I'm going to sell ads because it's Tom Brady. But at the same time, is he going to be good?
I don't know. I don't know if he will be. And here's the thing. Here's why. Here's the example of why it worries me. Drew Brees, I think we all agree, is one of the greatest quarterbacks to ever touch a football. No question. He is an incredible quarterback. He is, records and Super Bowl, and he's got it all. He's got almost every accolade, every record, every whatever to back up a claim like that. Raise your hand if you think Drew Brees is a good commentator or a good analyst. And I mean enjoyable to watch, not just insightful, but he's worth watching. Raise your hand if you actually think he's good. Be honest.
Commentator, no. Analyst, I'm going to say I think he's good.
But I'm saying on the overall, would you call him good?
Overall, I would not call him good. But as an analyst, I'm saying he's good. As a commentator,
Eric, no. I completely agree. But that's the problem. Because we know they have the football IQ. We know that they're they're smart, right? We know that. But if they're not entertaining to watch, it doesn't matter. It means nothing. Because I don't know if Tom Brady will be entertaining enough to watch.
All right. So I had this conversation not once, but twice today before joining Sideline Sports tonight. And here is how that conversation went down. First off, look at it like this. Allow me to put it in perspective for people. Tom Brady, over his 22-year career in the NFL, has made $332 million over 22 years.
Yep.
He hasn't even started, not day one, broadcasting. And Fox has locked him in for 10 years, as we said, $375 million. So basically, you go bust your butt for over 2 decades. You go to 10 Super Bowls, you win 7 of them. And
at this moment, at least.
At this moment. And you
that may change.
$332 million over that span.
Which is nothing to sneeze at, of course.
In less than half of that time, you are given a contract to be on camera, to talk about the game, and get paid more money. Now, is Tom Brady worth that money? He's Tom Brady. Okay? Whether you love him or you hate him, you've got to respect him. It's the same thing I say about Jordan. I feel like this. I am going to give him a 2-year window. That's what I'm going to give him. His first 2 years as an analyst and or commentator, I want to see how he evolves, because he's going to get a pass the first 2 years because of who he is. Now, we don't know if he can.
Somehow John always manages to make a comment about his teams. John, if you are not sick, get on here. If not, as much as I miss you, go sleep. Go to sleep. We know you don't feel well. Go sleep.
He obviously missed the beginning part of the show when I said, is he really sick or is he watching the game?
I'm telling you, he's
Right.
not. He's
All right.
not sick.
Right.
Hey, back to what you're saying.
So, but that's what I feel. And to JB's point, listen, the fact that this has happened, you already know Fox's viewership is going to skyrocket the minute he is done playing football this season, because everybody will want to see him. Think about it like this. What if, for argument's sake, what if Tampa does not make it to the Super Bowl this year? You don't think Fox is going to try and bring him in and help him kind of get his feet wet during the playoffs?
Without a doubt. Without a doubt.
Yeah, so, you said it's funny you say that, Eric, because you kind of just touched on something I wanted to throw out there. I think it was on Good Morning Football this morning. I may be mixing up my shows, so bear with me on that. I don't remember who, but there was a tweet I believe NFL Network sent out about Good Morning Football this morning, and they were discussing this scenario. What happens if Tom Brady is in the playoffs and his team gets eliminated for whatever reason, right? Does he come to call a game? Do they call up Tom and say, hey, Tom, you want to come call a game today? Because technically speaking, they have him under contract, and he'd probably be happy to, get his feet wet a little bit, like you said. Do they call him and say, hey, Tom, you want to come call a game? And better yet, does he end up maybe calling a game of a team that just kicked him out of the playoffs? And if so, how funny would that be?
Well, I mean, if you think about it, you've had guys that were to the playoffs go with the studio for the studio shows.
Right.
So, I mean, why not? Why
That's what I'm
can't
saying.
Okay, but JB, these are guys who they've been out since like week 13. Their team wasn't making the postseason. All right. We fully expect that Brady and the Bucks are potentially maybe winning the division, the NFC South, and getting to the divisional round of the postseason. Maybe even back to the NFC Championship game. We don't know that. That still is TBD. No pun for TB12. But I'm just saying to you, it's like, think about that for a moment. And if you're Brady, like, it boggles the mind that you would sign the contract this season. You had such a hard time retiring last season.
Right. Then
you came back because you were like, oh, I got to get one more in me. But now it's like, okay, no matter what happens, whether we win it all or we don't make the postseason or we're one and done or whatever, I have signed with Fox to make $375 million.
Here's the interesting thing about that, though, Eric. This deal does not take place until Brady retires officially. That's the thing. So Brady, technically speaking, could, if he so chooses, play for 3 more years and then go start working with Fox. So that's the way the deal is working, which is so weird to me.
Right.
Could he retire, go and then come back to playing again after a year?
I don't know.
I don't know. I think once he starts working officially, like day one works with Fox, he's done. He's done.
I would think.
And to Matt in our chat, let me just say this. Okay, Matt, yeah, he gave up tons of money for the better of the team, and now he's been given a gift. Listen, Brady could have made that money. He chose to go that route and be a team player, and yes, that's why he has 7 championships. But this one right here, the Carolina Panthers, the Seattle Seahawks, whoever Greg Olson's team was on, he wasn't getting into the playoffs. Greg Olsen knew before the end of the season, okay, we're not going anywhere, so I can go in the booth. Now, I don't know.
It didn't matter with Greg Olsen. He's horrible in the booth anyway, so he needs all the practice he can get.
See? But that's what I mean. And that kind of proves, like, I get the logic is he's Tom Brady. I get it 100%. But just because he's Tom Brady,
yes,
Fox may regret this one day, because here's the thing. No, and let me because think about this. Troy Aikman. Who here likes listening to Troy Aikman? Be honest with yourselves. Nobody. We hate you like listening to him, really?
In the beginning, it's the Romo syndrome, which is the Aikman syndrome. I hated you when you played, but I couldn't ignore the fact that you knew the game and you were able to translate the game to the average viewer.
Okay. Because personally, I can't stand listening to him. That's just me. I'll make a better example. It's not a football player, but it's an announcer that I am almost certain all three of us can't stand. Joe Buck.
I like Joe Buck, so you're wrong.
You like him?
You know what? I think
All
I've listened to him enough.
That puts you out of order, and I'm sure Eric would agree that liking Joe Buck is just offensive. I'm sorry.
I mean, his father was a million times better. His father was a million times better, but he's good.
Okay, here's one. Here's my number one. And you can ask anybody who lives with me or knows me or watches, and when I say it, you're going to know who I'm talking about. When I watch Sunday Night Football, I'm telling you right now, me and Mr. Collinsworth, no. I would rather the game on mute.
I can get on board with that.
I am not a fan of him. Nope.
Not at all.
I don't feel like he adds much. All right, but the point is, Collinsworth is just a name at this point. But if you could, for certain times, if you could tune off a game and just not listen to them, wouldn't you?
Yes.
If you could just watch somewhere else, wouldn't you? And that's what I'm worried about with Tom Brady. If he sucks that bad, somehow that happens. I doubt it, because I think Tom Brady just knows so much about football. He'll make it work. They'll train him. They'll make it work. But if he somehow just stinks, he's just not fun to listen to. Fox may lose people and be like, yeah. People are just not going to watch the games unless, if it's not their team, they're just not going to care because they don't want to listen to them. And I get that.
But you can say the same thing about Romo. I think the beginning, people didn't like Romo. Like, I didn't like Romo. He was a cowboy. Didn't like him. Okay? Yeah. But over time, I listened to him and my mind got changed. And I think the same is going to happen. That's why I say Brady gets a 2-year window, because people are going to be excited to see what he's capable of. And listen, Brady is not a guy who does not push himself to greatness. So I fully expect that in the offseason, he'll probably take some mass communication classes. He'll probably take some journalistic classes. Brady is a man who prepares himself each and every week. Now, can he translate that, instead of being a 3-hour on the field guy, to a 3-hour off the field analyst / commentator? That still remains to be seen. But at the end of the day, again, 10 Super Bowls, 7 rings.
You know something.
22 years. It's Tom Brady. That's all it needs to be said.
Fair.
It's Tom Brady.
And if you've ever listened to his interviews with Jim Gray on Sunday and Monday Night Football, he breaks down things pretty well. I mean, in the booth, it's going to be different, but, the way he speaks about the game, I look forward to seeing him, to see what he brings to the table. Will he be good? I don't know, but good for him. It's a name. That's all it is.
Look, the last thing I will say is this. I understand why they paid him, but geez, you paid him that kind of money? I mean, like, that contract is not quite, but it reminds me to some extent of Patrick Mahomes when he got his tenure, or whatever his year. I forget how many years his like $500 million. Yep. $500 million, right?
10 years.
It's just wild. I mean, and I get it, but you better pray. Thank you, John. Thank you. That's what I said. And to these two gentlemen, to their credit, They make fair points. Not disagreeing with what they said because Tom Brady's a household name. He's the football name, basically. You say football, he's one of the first people that comes to mind, so I get it. But you better pray he is good because if not, it is going to look so bad on you because if he's really that bad, if he's Brees level bad in terms of ability to entertain and be enjoyable to listen to, not just in what content he can, and what insight he can bring. We know he can bring insight. We know that. You got to be enjoyable to listen to. If he sucks, it is going to really hurt to be Fox, to be the guys working with him. And that's all I'll say. And I hope for their sake it works out. I really do.
Listen, it already did. What are we talking about tonight? We're talking about Fox Sports. We're not talking about ESPN. And right now, all these announcers are getting big money. So that was a huge.
JB,
huge
you make a good point.
Yes, because I'm not way out of order for those watching at home.
Excuse you. You are out of order for one person, and you know who it was. Joe Buck.
Not at all.
Joe Buck.
I like Joe Buck.
Disgusting, despicable, every awful thing I could say. It's not right. It's out of order, sir. But on that note, we have run out of time, it looks like. So, JB, as much as it pains me to do this, I will say, let's start with you, sir. Where can they find you?
JB_ the program tomorrow night. We got the South Florida Sports Tribune football show. Tonight, 11 o'clock, we got Confidential. Every Tuesday here at 8:30. I don't know. I'm all over the place. Just go to JB at the program. Watch all our shows. Subscribe to the YouTube. Soon we're going to be on podcasts all over. Make sure you subscribe to that. If you're not all in, you're all out. Jake?
No, I got to go to Eric last. Eric next because I got to do my bottom of the screen thing after. You know how that goes. You know what I'm talking about.
No, I've never seen it.
That's got to be at the end.
I've never seen it.
So
I want to know more.
Yeah, your man Eric Wilson every Monday and Wednesday night, 10 p.m. Eastern. The Sports Arena with all the greats, including Jon Shearer, who is not on Sideline Sports tonight. You can find me at ECWilson76 on Twitter and Instagram. Listen, you know me, as you see behind me. I cover the WNBA Chicago Sky. Check out for all that content. And, man, it's just great, as always, to be a part of the flagship show.
Absolutely. Real quick, shout out to John. I will take care of him for just a second. I got him. BlueHawks13 on Twitter and Instagram. He's on Sports Arena Monday and Wednesday with Eric, as Eric alluded to. He's on with us basically every week that he's not, feeling sick. He's on everything. Check him out. What a Show on
Monday nights at 9:15. Yep.
Thank you, sir. He's everywhere. You know him. Absolutely. Me, I'm Jake Malik. You can find me on Twitter at Jake_Malik. But more importantly, as you see across the bottom of your screen, here's where you can find Sideline Sports. Instagram and Twitter is Sideline Sport 1. YouTube and Facebook, we got a page, we got a group, we got everything. Sideline Sports, look us up. DBNet Television, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, TikTok, you name it, we are there. Eric, there you go. I know how much you love it. JB, that's my thing. That's what I do. Now you know what it is.
And you forgot to say they can find you with your sweet new ride.
You can find me in my new car. Absolutely. On that note, everybody have a good one, and we will see you next time.